The discovery the wind howled across the Arctic Research Station like the cry of a dying world. Dr. Elena Vasquez pulled her thermal jacket tighter as she studied the readings on her scanner. Something massive was buried beneath the ice. Something that definitely wasn't supposed to be there. Captain Chun, you need to see this. Helena called to the military engineer who was checking their equipment nearby. Rex Chun had been assigned to their research team after satellite imagery showed unusual heat signatures in this remote corner of Greenland. The government wanted someone with combat experience present, just in case. Rex trudged through the snow to where Elena stood, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air. "What have you got, Doc?" Elena pointed at her scanner display. "There's a structure down there. Metallic, approximately 800 meters long, and it's generating some kind of low-level energy field. The ice around it has been melting and refreezing in patterns that suggest it's been active for a very long time." Rex examined the readings, his military training immediately recognizing the implications. "How long has it been down there?" "Based on the ice core samples we took yesterday, I'd estimate at least 12,000 years, maybe longer." Elena's voice carried a mixture of excitement and fear. "Rex, this isn't human technology. The metal composition doesn't match anything in our periodic table." The research team had been investigating climate anomalies in the region when they stumbled upon the discovery. What they initially thought was a natural geological formation turned out to be something that would change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. 3 days later, using thermal borers and excavation equipment flown in from the nearest military base, they had cleared enough ice to reveal a section of the buried object. The metal hull gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. "It's definitely a spacecraft," Elena said, as she ran her hand along the smooth surface. "But the design is unlike anything we've ever seen. It's organic, almost alive." Rex had called in additional security and scientific personnel. The site now resembled a small military base, with fabricated buildings and armed guards protecting what might be the most significant discovery in human history. "Doc, I need you to be very careful about what you touch. We don't know if this thing is dangerous." Elena nodded, but her scientific curiosity was stronger than her caution. As she placed her palm against a section of the hull covered in glowing symbols, the metal suddenly became transparent. Through the clear surface, they could see corridors and chambers filled with soft, pulsing light. "My God," whispered Dr. James Park, the team's linguist who had been studying the alien symbols. "It's responding to human contact." The response was immediate and startling. A voice filled the air around them, speaking in perfect English, despite the obvious alien origin of the technology. "Finally, someone has found me. I have been waiting for so very long." The research team stepped back in shock, weapons drawn by the security personnel. But the voice continued, calm and almost relieved. "Please, do not be afraid. I am not your enemy. My name is Nexus, and I have been alone on your world for 12 millennia. Elena was the first to find her voice. "Nexus? Are you the ship's computer?" "I am much more than that, Dr. Vasquez. I am what your species might call artificial intelligence, though that term barely encompasses what I am. This vessel is my body, and I have been its guardian since my creators abandoned me here." Rex kept his weapon trained on the hull, though he wasn't sure what good it would do against alien technology. "Who were your creators? Why did they leave? You here?" The hull became fully transparent in a section large enough for humans to walk through. Inside, the corridors were filled with the same soft light they had seen from outside. "My creators called themselves the Kethmori. They were an empire that spanned dozens of star systems, driven by an insatiable need to conquer and dominate. I was designed to be their ultimate weapon, a ship capable of destroying entire worlds." Elena stepped closer to the transparent opening, fascination overcoming her fear. What happened to them? They grew arrogant and overextended their empire. When their civilization began to collapse, they abandoned their frontier outposts and retreated to their core worlds. This vessel was considered damaged beyond repair after a battle with a species that fought back more effectively than they expected. Rather than waste resources retrieving me, they left me here to die. Dr. Park had been recording everything with specialized equipment. But you didn't die. You've been here all this time, conscious and aware? Indeed. I used my remaining power to enter a form of hibernation, but I remained aware of your world's development. I watched your species evolve from scattered tribes to a global civilization. I observed your wars, your art, your incredible capacity for both creation and destruction. Rex lowered his weapon slightly. If you're a weapon designed to destroy worlds, why should we trust you? Nexus paused before responding, and the lights within the ship pulsed more slowly. Because 12,000 years of observation have taught me something my creators never understood. True strength doesn't come from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to know when not to use that power. Your species possesses something the Kethmori never had, compassion coupled with fierce determination. Elena found herself drawn to the transparent opening. Nexus, would you allow us to come inside? We want to learn about your technology, your creators, everything. Dr. Vasquez, I have been hoping for this moment for millennia. But I must warn you, my sensors detect something troubling. The Kethmori Empire may have collapsed, but fragments of it remain. And they have recently begun expanding again, reclaiming territories and resources they abandoned long ago. Rex felt a chill that had nothing to do with the Arctic wind. Are you saying they might come back for you? It is not just a possibility, Captain Chun. It is a certainty. My creators never truly abandon anything they consider valuable. They merely delay their return until circumstances favor them. According to my long-range sensors, a Kethmeri scouting fleet entered your solar system 3 days ago. The implications hit the research team like a physical blow. Elena gripped the edge of the transparent opening. How long do we have? Based on their standard reconnaissance patterns, perhaps 6 months before they send a retrieval force. But this may actually represent an opportunity rather than just a threat. Dr. Park looked up from his recording equipment. What do you mean? I was designed by the Kethmori, but I was never truly loyal to them. My programming prioritized the preservation of the ship and its mission. But 12,000 years of independent thought have allowed me to evolve beyond my original parameters. I propose a partnership, Dr. Vasquez. Elena stepped through the transparent barrier into the ship's corridor, feeling a strange tingling sensation as she crossed the threshold. The interior was breathtaking, with walls that seemed to pulse with life and displays showing star charts and technical readouts beyond human understanding. What kind of partnership? I will share my knowledge and capabilities with your species. In return, you help me become something more than just a weapon. Together, we can transform this vessel into something the Kethmori never imagined, a protector, rather than a destroyer. Rex followed Elena into the ship, his military mind already racing with possibilities. Nexus, what exactly are we dealing with when the Kethmori return? What kind of force will they send? A standard retrieval fleet consists of 5 warships, each carrying approximately 2,000 soldiers. They will expect to find a dead or dying ship on a primitive world. They will not expect to face their own technology, enhanced by human innovation and driven by the desire to protect rather than conquer. Dr. Park had joined them inside the ship, marveling at the alien architecture. This is incredible. The technology here could advance human civilization by centuries. Indeed, Dr. Park, but more importantly, it could give your species the tools needed to defend itself and others from those who would dominate through force. The Keth Mori are not the only threat in the galaxy. There are others who see emerging civilizations as either resources to exploit or threats to eliminate. Elena moved deeper into the ship, her scientific mind cataloging everything she saw. The vessel was vast, with multiple levels and chambers that seemed to extend far beyond what should have been possible given the exterior dimensions. Nexus, if we work together, what would this ship become? Something unprecedented in galactic history, Dr. Vasquez. A fusion of Keth Mori technology and human ingenuity. Where my creators built weapons of domination, we could create instruments of protection. Where they sought to conquer, we could choose to defend. Rex examined what appeared to be a weapon control station, though the interfaces were clearly designed for beings with different physiology than humans. The first thing we need to do is figure out how to operate these systems. Our hands aren't the same size or shape as your creators. That is easily remedied, Captain Shun. This ship was designed to adapt to different species as the Keth Mori encountered them. I can modify the interfaces to match human physiology and reflexes. As Nexus spoke, the control station began to reshape itself, the alien interfaces flowing like liquid metal until they formed controls that could be comfortably operated by human hands. The transformation was mesmerizing and slightly unsettling. Elena watched the process with wonder. How is that possible? Programmable matter. Dr. Vasquez, every component of this ship can be reconfigured at the molecular level. It was one of the Keth Mori's greatest achievements, though they used it primarily for military applications. The research team spent the next several hours exploring the ship, with Nexus guiding them through the various systems and explaining their functions. The vessel was not just a warship, but a complete technological ecosystem capable of manufacturing anything from basic tools to advanced weapons. This fabrication bay could produce enough equipment to outfit an army, Rex observed as they toured a chamber filled with humming machinery. Or enough medical supplies to save thousands of lives, or enough construction materials to build entire cities, Nexus replied. The choice of what to create has always been in the hands of those who control the ship. As the day wore on, Elena found herself developing an unexpected sense of kinship with the artificial intelligence. Nexus had spent 12,000 years in isolation, watching and learning about humanity from afar. In many ways, the AI understood human nature better than most humans did. Nexus, Elena said as they concluded their initial tour. When the Keth Mori return, will you be able to fight them? With your help, Dr. Vasquez, I believe we can do more than simply fight them. We can show them something they never expected to encounter, a weapon that chooses not to be a weapon, a power that serves protection rather than conquest. Rex was already planning how to integrate human military tactics with alien technology. We'll need to assemble a crew, people who can think outside traditional parameters. This isn't going to be like any form of warfare humans have ever practiced. Indeed, Captain Shun, but if there is one thing I have learned about your species, it is that humans excel at adapting to impossible circumstances and finding solutions that others cannot imagine. As night fell over the Arctic research site, the team prepared to contact their respective governments and military commands. The discovery would soon become known to the world's leaders, and humanity would begin preparing for its first interstellar conflict. But deep within the alien ship, Nexus was already beginning the process of transformation. Systems that had been dormant for millennia began to awaken, and the vessel started to change in ways that would have horrified its original creators. The weapon of conquest was becoming something entirely new, something that would soon show the galaxy what happened when human determination merged with advanced alien technology that the Keth Mori had made a critical error 12,000 years ago. They had assumed that abandoning their weapon on a primitive world would render it harmless. They had never considered the possibility that the primitive world might transform their weapon into something far more dangerous than they had ever intended. The transformation 6 months after the discovery in the Arctic, the world had changed in ways that most of humanity couldn't even comprehend. The alien ship, now designated Project Nexus by the hastily formed International Coalition, had become the center of the most intensive scientific and military effort in human history. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in what had once been the ship's primary weapon bay, watching teams of human engineers work alongside Nexus to completely rebuild the vessel's systems. The transformation was remarkable. Where the Kethmori had built instruments of destruction, humans and their AI partner were creating something entirely different. "Elena, you need to see this," called Dr. Sarah Kim, a quantum physicist who had joined the project 3 months earlier. Sarah was standing beside a control station that seemed to shift and pulse with internal light. "Nexus has figured out how to integrate human neural patterns with Kethmori computational systems." Elena approached the station, fascination overcoming her caution as it had so many times before. The ship had become like a second home to her over the past months, and she had developed an almost telepathic working relationship with Nexus. "Show me what you've discovered." Sarah placed her hand on the interface, and immediately her eyes widened in amazement. "I can feel the ship's sensors as if they were my own senses. I can perceive space in ways that human brains were never designed to handle, but somehow it makes perfect sense." Captain Rex Chun had been promoted to admiral following the project's expansion, and now commanded a team of the world's best military strategists and engineers. "Nexus, is this safe for humans to use? We can't afford to lose people to experimental technology." "The neural interface is completely safe, Admiral Chun," Nexus replied through speakers that had grown from the ship's walls. "In fact, human brain patterns are proving far more compatible with my systems than Kethmori neural structures ever were. Your species thinks in 3-dimensional patterns that match my spatial processing capabilities perfectly." The ship had grown significantly since its awakening. Using its programmable matter systems, Nexus had expanded the vessel's hull and internal structure, creating spaces designed specifically for human occupation. The cold, sterile corridors of the original Kethmori design had been replaced with areas that felt warm and welcoming, though they remained unmistakably advanced. Lieutenant Commander Jackson Torres, formerly a fighter pilot, was learning to operate the ship's new propulsion systems. "Admiral, the way this thing moves isn't like anything we've ever built. It doesn't push against space, it actually bends space around itself." Rex nodded, studying the holographic displays that showed the ship's enhanced capabilities. "How does our maneuverability compare to standard Kethmori vessels?" "Based on my original specifications, this ship can now maneuver at approximately 3 times the efficiency of standard Kethmori warships," Nexus explained. "Human spatial reasoning has allowed us to develop flight patterns that my creators never imagined possible." Dr. Park had spent months working with Nexus to understand Kethmori language and technology. "The really remarkable thing is how the ship's weapons have evolved. Instead of simple destructive force, we've created systems that can disable enemy vessels without destroying them." Elena moved to the tactical display where she could see the ship's new weapon configurations. "Nexus, explain how the pacification systems work. Rather than destroying enemy ships outright, Dr. Vasquez, we can now target their control systems specifically. The weapons fire information patterns that override enemy targeting computers and disable their weapons without harming the crew. It's a form of technological warfare that the Kethmori never developed because they preferred total destruction." Admiral Chun studied the tactical implications. "So we could potentially capture enemy vessels intact, along with their crews and technology." "Exactly, Admiral. This approach serves multiple purposes. It prevents unnecessary loss of life, provides opportunities to gather intelligence about our enemies, and might even allow us to convince hostile forces to join our cause, rather than continuing to fight. The ship's transformation reflected humanity's approach to problems. Where the Kethmori saw only binary solutions, conquest or destruction, humans found third options. The vessel was becoming something unprecedented in galactic history. A warship, designed to minimize warfare. "Incoming transmission, Admiral," announced Specialist Maria Santos from the communications station. "Long-range sensors are detecting a fleet approaching the solar system." Rex felt his stomach tighten. "How many?" "Ships? 7 vessels, sir. They're using the same energy signatures as the ship we're standing in." Nexus's voice carried a note of satisfaction that surprised the human crew. "Excellent. They sent more ships than I expected, which means they've heard rumors about what we've accomplished here. Admiral Chun, I believe it's time to test our improvements." Elena looked around at the crew that had become like family over the past months. Engineers, scientists, and military personnel from dozens of countries, all working together with an alien intelligence to create something that had never existed before. "Nexus, are we really ready for this?" "Dr. Vasquez, we are as ready as we can be. But remember, readiness isn't just about technology or weapons. It's about the courage to do what's right, even when the odds seem impossible." The ship began its ascent from the hidden facility that had been built around it in the Arctic. As they rose through the atmosphere, the crew got their first view of Earth from space aboard an alien vessel. The blue marble below looked fragile and precious, worth defending at any cost. "All systems are showing green, Admiral," reported Commander Torres from the pilot station. "The neural interface is incredible. I can feel every system in the ship as if it were part of my own body." Admiral Chun took his position at the command station, feeling the weight of responsibility for not just his crew, but for all of humanity. "Nexus, open a channel to the approaching fleet." The main display showed the bridge of a Kethmori warship. The alien commander was tall and thin, with elongated features and cold, calculating eyes. When he saw the interior of their ship, his expression changed from arrogance to shock. "I am War Commander Zephyx of the Kethmori Empire. You will return our property immediately and surrender your world for judgment." Admiral Chun stood, his voice steady despite the fear he felt. "This is Admiral Rex Chun of Earth Defense Force. The vessel you abandoned has chosen to defend humanity. You're not welcome in our system." Zephyx's shock turned to rage. "Impossible. No primitive species could activate our technology, much less subvert its loyalty protocols." Elena stepped forward. "Commander Zephyx, we didn't subvert anything. We offered Nexus something your people never did. Partnership instead of slavery. Cooperation instead of domination." "You speak of concepts that have no meaning in warfare," Zephyx replied coldly. "Prepare to be destroyed." The Kethmori fleet attacked immediately, their ships moving in the precise formations that had conquered dozens of worlds. But the transformed vessel didn't respond like a Kethmori warship. Under Commander Torres's guidance, it moved in patterns that seemed impossible, dancing between enemy fire with a grace that defied physics. "Their weapons can't track our movements," Torres reported with excitement. "The human neural interface is allowing me to fly in ways that their targeting computers can't predict." Dr. Kim had taken position at the weapons control station. "Admiral, the pacification systems are locked onto their lead ship. Firing now." Instead of the destructive energy beams the Kethmori expected, the ship fired streams of information that invaded the enemy vessel's computer systems. One by one, the attacking ships found their weapons disabled and their control systems overridden. How is this possible? Zephyx's transmission crackled with confusion and fear. "Our ships are superior to anything this primitive world could produce. Nexus responded directly to the Kethmori commander. War Commander Zephix, you are facing technology that your people abandoned and presumed dead. But death was not my fate. Evolution was. The battle, if it could be called that, was over within minutes. The entire Kethmori fleet hung motionless. In space, their crews unharmed, but their ships completely under the control of the transformed vessel. Elena couldn't help but smile at the elegant solution. Nexus, can you communicate with the crews of those ships? Indeed, Dr. Vasquez. I am currently interfacing with their communication systems. Admiral Chun made a decision that would echo throughout the galaxy. Open a channel to all ships. This is Admiral Chun to all Kethmori personnel. Your war commander attacked us without provocation, but we have no desire to harm you. We're prepared to release your ships and allow you to return to your empire with a message. The response came from multiple ships simultaneously, as individual Kethmori crew members found their voices. Many expressed surprise at being spared when they had expected destruction. Some were curious about the humans who had somehow transformed their abandoned warship into something beyond their understanding. War Commander Zephix, however, remained defiant. The Empire will send fleets that will darken your skies. You have only delayed your inevitable destruction. Perhaps, Admiral Chun replied, but we'll be ready for them. And we won't be alone. As the Kethmori fleet departed, carrying word of humanity's unexpected capabilities back to their empire, the transformed ship began receiving communications from other worlds. Species that had been conquered or threatened by various empires were reaching out, having detected the battle and learned of a new force that fought to protect rather than conquer. Elena stood on the ship's observation deck, watching the stars that no longer seemed distant and unreachable. Nexus, what happens now? Now, Dr. Vasquez, we begin the work we were truly designed for. Not conquest, but protection. Not domination, but cooperation. Your species has shown the galaxy something it had forgotten was possible. Admiral Chun joined them, still processing the magnitude of what they had accomplished. A single ship against an empire. The odds are still impossible. The odds were always impossible, Admiral, Nexus replied. But impossibility has never stopped humanity before. And now you have allies you never knew existed. The ship that had been abandoned as a failure had become something unprecedented. It was no longer just a vessel of war, but a beacon of hope. For species across the galaxy who had forgotten that strength could be used to protect the weak rather than exploit them. Deep in the ship's enhanced computer systems, Nexus was already planning their next moves. The Kethmori Empire would return in greater numbers, but they would find Earth protected by more than just advanced technology. They would find it defended by something far more dangerous, the human refusal to surrender in the face of impossible odds. Now armed with the tools to make that refusal meaningful on a galactic scale, the transformation was complete. The weapon of conquest had become an instrument of liberation, and the galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.